Ever feel like you're caught between like who you are and who you could be? Well, today we're diving into the world of this guy.
Okay.
Giovanni Pico della Mirandola.
I love it.
He was a Renaissance philosopher.
Yeah.
And his ideas are still relevant.
Yeah.
Even centuries later.
For sure.
So we're going to explore his life.
Yeah.
His most famous work,
All right.
The Oration on the Dignity of Man.
Very cool.
And unpack why he's still such a compelling figure. So get ready to have your assumptions challenged.
I'm ready. So Pico was a young nobleman, really brilliant, ambitious, fluent in multiple languages, and really deeply interested in a wide range of subjects.
Like what?
Everything from philosophy and theology to Kabbalah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have to imagine. This is a time when books were rare and precious.
Oh, yeah.
So to have that kind of thirst for knowledge is pretty remarkable.
It's so fascinating to think about how someone like in the 15th century could be so ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And speaking of being ahead of his time,
Okay.
there's this crazy incident in Arezzo where Pico tries to elope with a married woman.
No way.
Her name was Margarita.
Wow.
This caused a huge scandal.
I bet.
And it kind of led to like some moral introspection for Pico.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I mean, this incident, it's kind of shrouded in mystery.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There are some conflicting accounts, but it seems to have had like a profound impact on Pico's thinking.
Interesting.
It might have even influenced his oration on the dignity of man.
Oh, wow.
Where he makes this really radical claim about human nature.
Yeah, so tell me more about this oration.
Okay.
Like, what was the context surrounding Pico when he created it?
So Pico, he intended it as like an introduction to his 900 Theses.
900.
Yeah, it was like this bold intellectual statement.
Oh, wow.
And he meant to spark debate among scholars in Rome.
So he was kind of like inviting the leading thinkers of his day to engage with his ideas. Okay, so what was the core idea that he was putting forward in the oration?
So in the oration, Pico argues that humans have no fixed nature.
Okay.
So imagine God saying to Adam, "We have made you neither of heaven nor of earth, neither mortal nor immortal, so that you may, as the free and extraordinary shaper of yourself, fashion yourself in whatever form you prefer."
Whoa.
So Pico believed that we have the power to shape ourselves, to choose our own path.
Wow.
Which was and still is a pretty radical idea.
That quote is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, like, what does it mean for us, like, here and now, if we really have that kind of freedom?
It's a good question, and it's a question that Pico himself grappled with. Remember, he was a devout Christian.
Right.
So he wasn't advocating for a philosophy of, like, anything goes.
Right.
But he was challenging the idea of a fixed human nature.
Yeah.
And emphasizing the responsibility that comes with the freedom to choose our own destinies.
So he's suggesting that we have a say in who we become, that we're not just like playing out a predetermined role.
Exactly. That's a message that continues to resonate with people across centuries.
And you mentioned earlier that Pico was interested in a diverse range of like philosophies and religions.
Yeah.
How did that play into his oration?
Yeah.
Did he see these different traditions as like being in conflict with each other?
That's where Pico's concept of concordism comes in.
Concordism.
Yeah. He believed that despite their apparent differences, these traditions, Christianity, Platonism, Kabbalah, and others, were fundamentally harmonious. He saw them as different paths leading to the same underlying truths.
So instead of pitting these traditions against each other, he was looking for like common ground, for the threads that connected them.
That's right. He believed that these traditions could be woven together into like this grand tapestry of knowledge,
Wow.
enriching our understanding of ourselves and the universe.
It's so fascinating that a Renaissance scholar would be looking to something like Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism,
Right.
to deepen his understanding of Christianity.
Yeah.
What drew him to Kabbalah in particular?
Well, Pico saw Kabbalah as confirming, not contradicting Christian truths.
Oh, interesting.
He believed that exploring these seemingly disparate traditions could actually lead to a richer, more nuanced understanding of his own faith.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he spent a fortune acquiring rare Kabbalistic texts.
Really?
Yeah, he was convinced that they held this hidden wisdom that could illuminate the Christian path.
That's a remarkable perspective.
Yeah.
Especially for that era.
Yeah.
But I have to wonder,
Yeah.
were people receptive to his ideas?
Hmm.
Did they embrace his vision of harmony between these different traditions?
Well, not everyone embraced Pico's ideas with open arms.
Yeah.
Some people, especially within the church, were deeply suspicious.
Really?
They saw his views as unorthodox and potentially dangerous, especially his emphasis on human freedom and the power of reason.
So it sounds like Pico was challenging the established order, pushing the boundaries of acceptable thought.
He was...
So how did the church react to his ideas? Did they try to silence him?
Well, the church condemned some of his 900 theses as heretical.
Wow.
He was even forced to flee Italy for a time to avoid further persecution.
Really?
Yeah. The controversy surrounding his work just demonstrates the risks associated with intellectual freedom, especially in a time of, intense religious scrutiny.
So it's clear that Pico's ideas, they sparked significant debate and controversy.
They did.
And his work continues to be interpreted in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the different perspectives that people have taken on his oration on the dignity of man?
Well, some people see it as this beautiful and inspiring celebration of human potential, while others view it as a dangerous endorsement of self-centeredness. Even the word dignity in the title is open to interpretation.
Wow. So we're left to wrestle with Pico's ideas for ourselves.
Yes.
To decide what dignity and freedom truly mean in our own lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes him such a compelling figure.
What is?
Even centuries after his death. His work continues to challenge us to think critically and to define our own place in the universe.
I agree. Pico's work raises these fundamental questions about, the nature of humanity, the pursuit of knowledge, and the relationship between faith and reason. And these are questions that continue to resonate with us today.
Totally.
And I think we need to go deeper into those ideas to better understand their full implications.
Okay, let's delve deeper in the next
Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into Pico's idea of concordism.
Okay.
His belief that these seemingly different philosophical and religious traditions, ultimately, they harmonize.
It sounds like he was trying to find the golden thread connecting all of these different schools of thought.
Yeah.
But how did he actually go about doing that?
Yeah.
Did he have a specific method? Or was it more of an intuition?
Well, Pico was a master of synthesis. He was able to draw these connections between seemingly disparate ideas and weave them into this cohesive whole.
Oh, wow.
So one example is his interpretation of ancient mythology.
Okay, I've always been fascinated by myths.
Yeah.
But I often get lost in the different versions and interpretations.
Right.
How did Pico approach them?
He saw myths not as mere stories, but as symbolic representations of deeper truths.
Oh.
For instance, he interpreted the myth of Orpheus,
Okay.
the musician who journeyed to the underworld to retrieve his beloved Eurydice as an allegory for the soul's ascent to God.
So he was suggesting that these ancient myths contained encoded spiritual wisdom that we could unlock.
Exactly. He believed that by decoding these myths, we could gain deeper insights into ourselves and the universe.
It makes me think about how we seek meaning today through art, music, literature.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a hidden language there.
Yeah.
A deeper layer of meaning waiting to be uncovered.
I think Pico would agree with you. He believed that truth could be found in the most unexpected places, and that it was our duty to seek it out, no matter how hidden or obscure.
We talked about how Pico's ideas, particularly his emphasis on human freedom, caused some controversy within the church.
Yeah.
What specifically did they object to?
Well, Pico's emphasis on human freedom and the power of reason was seen as potentially undermining church authority. You have to remember, this was a time when the church held significant power and influence over knowledge and interpretation.
Right. So Pico was challenging the status quo.
He was.
He was pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable thought during the Renaissance.
Exactly. His ideas threatened the established order, which made some people very uncomfortable. In fact, some of his theses were deemed heretical,
Really?
forcing him to flee Italy for a time.
He was putting himself at risk by expressing these ideas.
He was, but Pico believed that truth was worth fighting for, even in the face of persecution. He saw himself as a champion of free thought, defending the human spirit against dogma and oppression.
It's incredible that these debates from centuries ago still resonate today.
Yeah.
We're still grappling with questions of freedom, authority, and the search for truth.
Right.
These seem like eternal human dilemmas.
Absolutely. And that's why Pico's work continues to fascinate us. He grappled with these fundamental questions about what it means to be human, and his insights still challenge and inspire us.
So bringing it back to the oration on the dignity of man.
Yes.
How do these themes, concordism, human freedom, the search for truth. How do they come together in that text? What's like the central message he's trying to convey?
Well, the core message of the oration is that humans are capable of extraordinary things, and that we have a responsibility to live up to our full potential. Pico believed that we're not bound by any predetermined fate, but we have the freedom to shape our destinies. He saw the pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, and spiritual growth as the highest expression of that freedom.
So it's not just about having freedom for its own sake, but using that freedom to become the best versions of ourselves.
Precisely. Pico believed we have this divine spark within us, this capacity for transcendence and connection with the divine. He saw the oration as a call to action, an invitation to embrace our freedom, cultivate our potential, and embark on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual transformation.
That's a powerful message that transcends any specific belief system.
I agree. Pico's work reminds us that we are all capable of greatness, and that we have a responsibility to use our freedom wisely, to live meaningful and purposeful lives.
So Pico was a visionary, ahead of his time in so many ways. If he were alive today, what do you think he would make of our modern world? Would he be optimistic about our potential, or concerned about the challenges we face?
I think he would be both excited and challenged by our world today. He'd be thrilled by our access to information and opportunities for connection and communication. But at the same time, he might also be concerned about how technology can distract us from our inner lives and the pursuit of wisdom and truth.
So he might see our modern world as a double-edged sword, a place of immense potential, but also significant peril.
That's right. And he would urge us to use discernment, be mindful of how we engage with the world, and remember the importance of cultivating our inner lives and seeking a connection with something larger than ourselves.
That's a valuable reminder.
It is.
Pico's work encourages us to think deeply about our place in the world and to strive for something more than just material success.
He believed that true fulfillment comes from aligning ourselves with the divine spark within us, from seeking wisdom and knowledge, and from using our freedom to shape ourselves and the world around us for the better.
It sounds like we've only just scratched the surface of Pico's ideas.
I think
there's so much more to explore.
There is, and I think one of the most intriguing aspects of Pico's work is his exploration of Kabbalah, which he saw as a path to deeper understanding within the Christian tradition itself.
Let's delve into that fascinating connection in the next part. Okay, so we've talked about how Pico saw this harmony between like different philosophical and religious traditions, especially his fascination with Kabbalah. It's not every day you hear about a Renaissance scholar turning to Jewish mysticism to deepen his understanding of Christianity. So how did he reconcile these seemingly disparate worlds?
Well, it all comes down to Pico's belief in something called prisca theologia.
Prisca theologia.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's this concept that suggests a universal ancient wisdom underlying all religions and philosophies. He saw Kabbalah as containing echoes of this like primordial truth, complementing rather than contradicting Christianity.
So it wasn't about replacing one with the other, but finding like deeper layers of meaning within his own faith.
Exactly. Pico's concordism, it wasn't about watering down different traditions to find like common ground.
Right.
Instead, he believed that by studying diverse perspectives, we could achieve a richer and more nuanced understanding of our own beliefs.
So it's like cross-training for your mind, working out different intellectual and spiritual muscles to become stronger in your chosen discipline.
That's a fantastic analogy. Pico was all about expanding the horizons of human understanding. He believed that truth was multifaceted and best grasped by embracing a plurality of perspectives.
We've discussed how Pico's ideas ruffled some feathers within the church.
Right.
Did he ever defend his position, explain his intentions?
He did. He wrote a piece called Apology.
Apology.
Yeah, it was a defense of his theses. And he argued that his intentions were pure. He aimed to promote the glory of God and the truth of the Christian faith. And he vehemently denied heresy, insisting that his exploration of other traditions was meant to enrich, not undermine Christianity.
So he was essentially saying, I'm not trying to start a revolution here. I'm just trying to deepen my faith and share my discoveries.
Exactly. Unfortunately, his arguments didn't sway everyone. The controversy continued, and some of his theses remained condemned by the church.
It's a reminder that intellectual freedom often comes at a price.
It does. However, Pico's story also demonstrates the enduring power of ideas. Despite the controversy, his work continued to circulate and influence thinkers for centuries. Today, his Oration on the Dignity of Man stands as one of the most important texts of the Renaissance. It's a celebration of human potential and free thought.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Pico della Mirandola, what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners walk away with?
I would emphasize Pico's unwavering belief in the transformative power of knowledge. He didn't see learning as mere fact accumulation, but as a path to self-discovery, spiritual growth, and ultimately union with the divine.
It's not just about knowing things. It's about allowing knowledge to transform us from the inside out.
Exactly. For Pico, transformation was deeply connected to our understanding of human dignity. Remember, he argued that humans have no fixed nature, that we have the freedom to shape ourselves into whatever we choose to become. That's both a privilege and a responsibility.
And his message resonates deeply in our time. When we face countless choices and possibilities, Pico's work reminds us that we have the power to create our own destinies, but with the moral imperative to strive for wisdom, goodness, and truth.
Beautifully put. If this has piqued your interest, I highly recommend reading Oration on the Dignity of Man. It will challenge you to think differently about yourself and your place in the universe.
You can find a link to purchase the book in the show notes. We encourage you to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into fascinating figures and ideas that have shaped our world. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and fellow knowledge seekers. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking truth wherever it may lead you.